Alright, so we've got a segment PR and a segment RS. We want to find the distance from P to S. So we already have these two distances. So the segment addition postulate allows you to add those two together. And so you should get 32.5, and that's millimeters, for that distance from P to S. Midpoint, the midpoint is the average of the two x's, average of the two y's. So label your points. And then you'll add your two x's together, divide by 2. Add your two y's together, divide by 2. And so our midpoint, 10 plus negative 3 is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, or 3.5. And then 0 plus 10 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Distance between the 2 points, use the distance formula. Label your points, substitute in. And we have negative 3 minus 2, and that's all squared, plus negative 5 minus a negative 2 squared. So that's negative 5 in parentheses squared, or 25. And negative 5 minus a negative 2 is the same as negative 5 plus 2, that's negative 3 in parentheses squared. And so that's 9. Add those together and you get 34. So the square root of 34 is the distance between those 2 points. Does not have any perfect square factors, so you can't simplify that any. Here we've got vertical angles. We also have congruent equilateral triangles. So the angles are all 60 degrees. Equilateral means the sides are congruent, and if the sides are congruent, we also know that the angles are congruent. So each angle is 60 degrees. So we can write 2y plus 6 equals 60. And we can solve that for y. So subtract 6 from each side, you get 54. And then to get rid of multiplying by 2, divide by 2. And so y is equal to 27. We also want to find x. Well, these are congruent segments, congruent sides. So we can write 2x minus 3 equals x plus 4. So we'll subtract x from each side. And then get rid of minus 3, we'll add 3. So we get x equal to 7. Our goal here was to find x and y. We did that. So we're done. Alright, we've got a statement, and if P then Q. If I have a piano lesson today, then today is Tuesday. For a converse, we switch both. So instead of if P then Q, we'll have if Q then P. So we would say, if today is Tuesday, then I have a piano lesson. Which is choice B. Law of syllogism. we have a true conditional, if P then Q, and then another conditional, if Q then R, then we can say if P then R. So we can say if you live in Headland, then you live in the United States. So that is valid by the law of syllogism. It's kind of like the transitive property of A equals B, then and B equals C, then A equals C. Same kind of order with the letters. If P then Q, and if Q then R, then if P then R. 4 and 5, we've got two lines cut by transversals, so 4 and 5 are alternate exterior angles. They're on alternating sides of the transversal, and they're on the exterior of the two lines. Here we're looking at 11 and 2 being congruent. So those use line D and C and also transversal line A. So we can say that C and D are parallel lines, or we can say C is parallel to D by alternate interior angles. So make sure you choose the one that has both the correct lines that are parallel and the correct reasoning. Here we're going to plot these points. We've got a point at 0, 4. Alright, so I've plotted PQR. Now we're going to reflect each of those points, each of those vertices across the line x equals 1, that blue line. So P is 1 point to the left, so when we reflect it, P will be 1 point to the right. And then Q is 1 point to the right, so when we reflect it, Q will be 1 point to the left. And then R is 4 units to the left, so when we reflect it, R will be 4 units to the right. And now we'll connect those. And you can use the primes for the new ones. Number 10, we'll do new over original to find the scale factor. And so from B prime to C prime, that's 3. So that's a new over the original B to C. And I'm getting 9. I'm going to count that. So that's 1/3. If we do that for AB as well, A prime, B prime is 3, and then AB. It's also 9, so 3 over 9 again simplifies to 1/3. So if your scale factor is less than 1, then that means it's a reduction. The original got smaller when you did the scale factor, when you came up with the new one. Here we're trying to decide whether the triangles are similar. Okay, so you'll notice that they share angle W in both triangles. And then we've got parallel lines cut by a transversal, and so we can say that angle Y is congruent to angle VXW. And so by angle, we can say that the triangles are similar. Again, make sure that you realize you're trying to come up with similar triangles, not congruent triangles. Here we've got an altitude of a triangle and a side of a triangle. They're similar triangles, so the altitudes are proportional to the sides. Our goal is to find PS, so I'm just going to call it X. So that altitude compared to the other altitude is equal to the side 10 compared to the side 16. Be consistent as you set up your proportion. Then you can cross multiply, and then you'll divide by the coefficient. So PS is 7.5.